Alright. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? I myself am doing rather well. Welcome to my review and summary of Stargirl Episode 7, which I've got to say, real quick, this was an amazing episode, far above what we've seen before. Can they keep up the momentum, though? Well, let's go through it, see what they set up. Now, fair warning, this is the first part of a two-part storyline, so I won't actually have much criticism throughout the video because I don't know the full payoffs of some of these choices. It will most likely end up being closer to like a fan theory video, lots of speculation and plenty of assumptions. I understand that I could ruin the show for myself by setting up expectations for storylines and things of that nature, but hey, I figure why not? I've got thoughts, I want to share them, so let's go. Now, the episode begins with everyone in the new JSA starting their early morning routines. So not simple stuff like we're brushing your teeth or stuff. Well, except for Beth. Courtney is taking a look at the cosmic staff. She goes downstairs and checks up on it. Yolanda is working on her boxing. Rick is carving an hourglass into, I assume, the tree where his parents died. And Beth actually blows off her parents in a surprisingly funny bit where her parents have come to her bathroom asking her where their lunch was. Honestly, beautiful little snippets that just let the characters be. It all comes together, though, with the team meeting in the hallways until that moment is actually ruined by Cindy, the evil cheerleader we've seen throughout the show. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff, and it's perfectly, whether by accident or on purpose, this moment is a representation that shows that the episode we're watching and the last episode, which focused on the group, is now being kind of bombarded with Cindy, who easily climbs her way into the top 3 characters in the show. At least that statement is true for myself. Pat and Icicle are still being better by far, though, mostly because they're actors, mostly because of the actors properly expressing the pain these two characters have gone through. But you'll have to forgive me, I actually have skipped a few scenes between Pat, Courtney, and Mike in the morning, so we're going back to before Cindy barges through them. Mike has just returned from his morning paper route, which is a nice bit of continuity from earlier in the season. I can't remember the exact episode, but I'd wager the 3rd. Courtney and Pat have just finished a discussion on hero training, which now they have to dress up as if they were talking about driving lessons because, of course, Mike was there to overhear. In a surprising little twist, not well, not sure if twist is the right word, but it's certainly a moment that adds drama. Barbara comes in and she doesn't take well to the idea that Pat was going to teach Courtney how to drive. Now, she's not too concerned about him actually teaching. What she's more concerned about is that Pat didn't talk it over with her first. I get that the writers, what the writers were going for. It's the writers sowing more seeds of contention between Pat and Barbara, kind of trying to pull them apart in some way, shape, or form. But unlike the failed family dinner from a while back, this is actually a pretty weak pretty weak thing to do. Although I have no good ideas on how to improve this moment, but um, at the time of this writing this, I have watched the second part, and it does have a payoff as well. Okay, back to Cindy though. We get a quick little exposition dump about how around the 4th grade, Cindy lost her mother, and became a scary villainess. That the same villainess that we see today, really. Nice, simple, and easy to follow, and they do go through stuff with Cindy's character throughout the rest of the episode, which, again, all I can say is I enjoy. A quick scene with Barbara shows us that she is being ripped even further away from her family when she gets offered the chance to close a big deal, like a business deal, a big business deal for her company, the American Dream. Oops. And then add on top of that the catch is that she has to leave that very day, and apparently make it back to Blue Valley the day afterwards. The whole situation has been thought up by the writers to get Barbara and Icicle alone together outside a workplace setting. While a lot of drama can be drawn from this, maybe it's moving along too quickly and it's kind of seeming a little forced. It is done to keep the story going, although I believe there are a few ways it could have been done more naturally. Let's hope the execution of it all doesn't become too poor. After all, even if the writing is kind of seeming a little forced, the execution can always save it. Back to school, Cindy is having quite an awful start to her day, as she's upset that she's not going to the homecoming dance, because throughout this episode it becomes clear she is very desperate to partake in normal high school activities. Henry kind of blowing her off because he spends all his free time now by his father's bedside. She also insults her little satellite one too many times and gets called a bitch for her trouble. I honestly never expected Cindy's friend to have a spine or grow a spine and walk away from this clearly unhealthy friendship, but hey, kudos to her, honestly. Now, after being blown off, Cindy bumps into the janitor as well, who's had these brief little scenes where he drops a little wisdom throughout the season, and right now he speaks about Cindy, saying that there is no book so bad that you could not find the good in it. Not the exact quote that he says, but I should have gotten the message across. We actually get the janitor's reveal later in this episode as well, which was actually pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't believe it. I had a lot of strange hype for this moment, and almost jumped from joy. And now, Henry seems to be getting his powers under control, actually, as he starts to pick out the correct answers to a test from his classmates around him. I can already see the battle for Henry coming. Yolanda is part of the good guys, and she was previously dating Henry. If Yolanda can forgive him, that's a possible route for him to join, but for that situation to also happen, they need for Henry to forgive Courtney as well, because of course she was the one who put his father in the hospital. Following Courtney again, she actually begins to sort of admire Cindy when they have to partner up for a class experiment. So throughout this experiment, it shows that Cindy isn't just just this evil person. Well, I mean, she still comes off as high and mighty and things of that nature, but during the class experiment, it shows that she has a very good head on her shoulders, that she is of high intellect and things of that nature. And Cindy actually at this point in the story reaches out a hand of friendship to Courtney. Where could they be taking this, I wonder? We stick with Cindy after school as she arrives home or at her father's house. Later it is made clear that this is her house. I just got confused for a second. I must have missed the clarification at some point. So at Cindy's home, we find her stepmother ready to just wait on her hand and foot. This poor woman has been conditioned to please Cindy and follow some rules that has been set from Cindy's father. Her programming does come into conflict with itself when Cindy asks for alcohol, specifically some wine and cheese. But there are rules against this, which eventually come down to the stepmother probably getting in less trouble for just giving her the alcohol, because Cindy does threaten her by saying that she'll tell her father that she's being mistreated. And so begins the scene you've been seeing in the clip that I've been playing. Cindy goes down into her father's lab slash secret lair, where we actually find out that her father is in fact Dr. Ito, and that the ISA is currently having a meeting over the new JSA and Stargirl. Figuring out ways that they could track them down and find out who they are. We actually find out that their kids aren't allowed to participate in any of the ISA stuff or be involved in any way. So Cindy really is an exception to be so knowledgeable about all this stuff. On the flip side, though, our new JSA gets their first chance at a training exercise at Pat's garage, which has to be promptly cancelled, though, after Courtney, in a fit of ego, starts destroying these dummies Pat has set up to represent the members of the ISA. And she actually rightfully gets reprimanded by her team for failing to understand that the exercise wasn't only for her, for jumping the gun, and things of that nature, which is kind of strange, though, at the same time, because after two major losses, one to Icicle losing Joey, and then getting beat up by Tigress and Sportsmaster, and even finally being able to empathize with Pat, she still acts like she knows better. But at the same time, I can also kind of get it, because my niece is currently the same age that Courtney is being portrayed as, and also acts like she knows better. But doesn't make it any less frustrating to watch, honestly. It becomes very clear that these scenes were to by the writer's intention, were to have Courtney and Cindy start mirroring each other through their arrogance. They each believe that they already have all that is needed to be part of the greater whole. Cindy, who has been groomed into becoming this secret weapon, is forced to simply watch Henry be his keeper, looking for any sign that his mind powers are awakening. She is desperate to have peers like the members of the ISA, but is left very isolated for her situation. Courtney, being on the opposite side of this, has found a group to belong to, but she's not really willing to slow down and stop and wait for them. Courtney is anxious to strike out on her own. Now, this may be because I'm just a simple normie, and when it comes to writing criticism, but I love this kind of stuff. It's drawing me in, seeing these two get going down similar paths that are leading to very different choices. This has been the show at its best so far. All of this has been built up in the previous episodes, and all of it is starting to pay off now, and in very engaging ways as well. But back to the episode. Barbara leaves for her business trip, and Pat takes the kids to the homecoming football game. Icicle himself is also preparing to leave, but not before a quick chat with his son about relationships. Of course, the overarching background thing being the homecoming dance the upcoming Saturday. After that, we get Pat and the kids at the homecoming game. Things are moving quick now, where after Pat leaves to get some food, Mike comes out of nowhere to tell off Courtney for spending so much time with Pat, actually. A decent storyline, although Mike hasn't really been shown to have much interest. It is understandable, of course. I suppose in most cases it would be a normal reaction, but he, once again, I have to say, hasn't shown any interest in spending more time with Pat himself, so it is kind of out of left field and awkward, but at the same time, in real life, how could it not be awkward? Anyways, soon after, Courtney actually gets asked to the homecoming dance by Icicle's son, which is also just as awkward. Very. I mean, they've only talked like once a while back, and this getting asked to the homecoming dance makes Courtney ready to drop plans that she had made beforehand. Granted, the plans were made with somebody who up until recently was only a bully in her eyes, but hey, a hero should follow through with their promises, in my belief, or else their word is no good. So this is just strikes against Courtney. Unintentionally, Courtney breaks Cindy's heart with this news that she's canceling their plans to hang out for some of that emo D, honestly. This became the point where I was actually rooting for Cindy over Courtney, just because she really did seem so heartbroken over this lost opportunity. Cindy was actually looking forward to hanging out with Courtney that Saturday. A chance to have something normal, and it gets thrown in her face, so she basically, he adopts the attitude of just like, fuck it, fuck everything, I want to be a villainess now. She doesn't even have to wait long for a chance to prove herself as well. When Stargirl shows up in the ISA layer, so during the football game, Stargirl was keeping an eye on Principal Bowen, and evidently the school had an entrance as well, so I can only guess that there are passages and tunnels and entrances all across the town to this layer. Stargirl had found this one by spotting the principal skulking away and following her. So Cindy suits up and goes on the attack when Stargirl emerges from another entrance inside the school. This fight leads them to the gymnasium where Stargirl blasts Cindy's face off, like fully gets rid of a skin. But thankfully Cindy can regenerate really quickly as well, which is both a good and a bad thing for Stargirl, because she's just gonna get her butt whooped at this point. One continuous shot is done for the rest of the fight scene, actually, where they're just rotating around the center, I guess, stage or something of that nature. So the camera is just spinning around them, and this is mostly used to hide the fact that the two people fighting are the stunt doubles, but it's perfectly alright. It ends up looking rather decent. The fight ends when the fight ends rather quickly as well. Again, it was done well because they didn't have too many of those really awkward pauses where people just gear up waiting for the next strike, or in the case of Star Wars, someone throws a weapon off screen just to get hit. So none of that happens with this rotating shot. And at the end of the fight, Cindy cuts Courtney's palms and knocks away the cosmic staff. This would definitely spell the end for Stargirl, if not for the school janitor. And at this point, most DC fans would have figured out who he's supposed to be. He is the Shining Knight himself, Sir Justin, stepping in to protect her. So much goes down in the next few seconds. It's crazy. Pat, who was brought to the gym by the staff, finds Stargirl still unconscious before he enters the gymnasium, though he was heard shouting out for Courtney by name, so I'm to assume Cindy could have easily heard this as she made her escape, because having been beaten down by Sir Justin, even though her regeneration, she actually looks like she's in pain. So she, of course, skulks away. The final note this episode does end on is Sir Justin recognizing Pat as Stripesy, which is actually pretty fun. They didn't mention him as a member of the old JSA, so it was quite shocking for me to hear him just whisper Stripesy as he sees Pat. Other things, let's see. I've got plenty to speculate on, so I can't wait to see how it all plays out, honestly. Anyways, like, I know Sir Justin's gonna have a big part, although I don't know how big it's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna end up sacrificing himself. I feel that is the most likely situation, since he is an old style knight and things of that nature, or what we consider old style knights to be. He wouldn't actually be historically accurate to a knight. He is just accurate to what we currently think of knights as. So, of course, that's why he is the shining knight. Oh yeah, you could see it going down right here in the fight. Once again, I thought it was a pretty good fight, in my opinion. There goes her face, just oof, completely messed up. Oh no, complete shock and horror. Eeh. Impressive CGI though. Look at that. It just, they use the lights to kind of hide it as well, and it just I think it was done rather well. I'm sorry, I'm poor with my criticism. Anyways, that about does it for this video. Honestly, the show gets a rather decent recommendation from me, honestly. It didn't take a whole season for this show to get good. There were signs of it early on, and now that all the dominoes have been set up, it is really gaining some steam in my eyes. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and share them in the comments section down below. If you think my review was adequate, go ahead and leave a like. Otherwise, that about does it for me. If you'd like more Stargirl reviews, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and join me next time with the second part of the Shiv storyline. With that said, I'll be sure to see you all next time. I hope you all take care.